Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and I have a special guest today that's going to talk to us about something that's relatively new. And I think you guys are going to be excited about it because a lot of you are using Instagram. So before we get started, I want to remind you to go over and follow us over at Superbrand Publishing, the YouTube channel. Over there, you can see all of these people live. I know if you're listening on a podcast, you're probably not seeing that these are real people, and you're going to see a really cool purple room today, purple and blue. She's really into that. And then don't forget to go over and take our Promote, Profit, Publish quiz, www.promoteprofitpublishquiz.com. You may think you're ready to publish a book, but there's a lot more to it than just writing it and publishing it. It's marketing time, and if you don't market in the right ways, you're not going to get any traction. So today's guest is Tracey Matney, and she is a certified chatbot expert and the CEO of Victory Point Social, an all-women marketing agency helping passionate and influential entrepreneurs create conversations that convert clicks into customers. Through her powerful conversational style, Facebook ads plus chatbot system, visionary leaders can increase their influence and revenue, all while automating their marketing so that they can be freed up to pursue their dreams. Tracey combines her 16 years of sales experience with modern technology to create winning results for her clients. As a result, we all find victory. You love that. Welcome, Tracey.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. So a lot of my book people, when we get ready for the bestseller, I'm used to writing campaigns that are LinkedIn and Facebook compliance, and many of them are having to convert that into Instagram because so many of them are on Instagram. So tell us what's going on with Instagram, what you've been up to, because the automation's a fairly new function, isn't it?
Yeah, just last month. So June, I don't know when everyone's going to be listening to this, but early June of 2021 they announced Instagram automation. So I've been building chatbots since 2018 on Messenger on Facebook. And so you can right now go build yourself a chatbot on Messenger. But if you have at least 10,000 followers or more, you can build your chatbot over on Instagram. And so that you're automating some things in the DMs. And pretty soon, if you have 1,000 followers or more, you'll be able to do it as well. They just really recently rolled this out. So it's super exciting. Now, I've been actually creating these conversations that convert clicks into customers. I always like to joke about it since Girl Scout cookies in the 3rd grade, converting those knocks into customers, right? But I had discovered Messenger chatbot funnels in 2018 when I was doing social media, and I was working with all these business owners, and they're really busy and they don't have time to respond to every single DM, every email, every text. There's just so many things, and then customers slip through the cracks. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to find a way to help them kind of automate those conversations, but without doing it in the spammy way. Because I'm sure you've seen chatbots that you don't like, or you've probably been spammed by one, or maybe they're copy pasted. Mm-hmm. They're just lame. It's it's annoying. It feels like they're just keep messaging you. And so I figured out how to make them funny and fun, and they have little jokes and good timing. And then of course, they convert. And so that's kind of what's going on.
That is so amazing. I actually did some social media for a client about 3 years ago, and somebody was using Chatbox. And I happened to get one when I was in her account posting, and I scrolled back through it, and it was some sort of psychic. And this woman had over 140 chats inside it, and it was obnoxious. It was there was this direct pattern every 3 days sell, and they were coming really frequently. Right. And I thought, this is crazy. And I actually asked my client, why didn't you ever stop that? And she's like, oh, I never get on Facebook. So that whole thing, she didn't even know this, but it was annoying as heck to read this thing.
Yeah, and when chatbots first came out, a lot of marketers were using them like that. They were using them just blast messages. But think about email marketing, for example. Most people would tell you should email your list, right? It's not a bad thing to email your list. It's a broadcast, one-to-many kind of email to your list once a week, every day, whatever people say. I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond emails me like 3 times a day. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you want me to come to Bed Bath & Beyond? I like unsubscribe. That 3 times a day, that's just overkill.
Yes.
But I'm sure it's working for them because they realize now that all emails are going to spam. They're going in the promotions tab, if you have a Gmail account. And so what Facebook and Instagram are trying to do is, by the way, in case you don't know, Facebook owns Instagram. They also own WhatsApp. So they own a lot of these one-to-one chat apps. And so they are trying to prevent chatbots from turning into email marketing. What happened with email is that people, they barely see your email. So then you have to email a lot more often. So what they've done is they've limited it to a 24-hour window now. So it used to be that you could just send out a broadcast, whenever you needed to your list. Now, you can't do that outside the 24-hour window unless you do a paid, like a sponsored broadcast. And then it says sponsored, so it comes through as an ad. But that's one way that they're doing it to make it so it's not so spammy. So that lady, that psychic lady, you can't do that anymore. The messages won't get sent.
That is so nice to hear, because it really, and if you think about email marketing isn't really working the way it used to. I know from my own, I hardly do any joint ventures with people anymore. My list is for my content and my bestseller list, and that's it. So people aren't. And I think that old paradigm of, I'm going to give you a piece of my genius and then I'm going to email you incessantly and try to sell you things. I think that's one reason people aren't opening them anymore.
Yeah, I think especially people who are in the online space, they're a lot more privy to like what's going on and like, okay, I get it. I'm going to opt into your lead magnet. You're going to email it to me and it's going to be decent and hopefully it's good value. And then you're going to sell me something small and then you're going to sell me something medium and then you're going to get your high ticket thing. Like we get it. But I think like if the content is really good, like I do read people's emails. I'm on some email list that I receive an email from them like once every 3 days, 2-3 days. I read their entire emails because they're full of really good either stories or really interesting new articles, and they're keeping me up to date on things. Like there's one guy who runs a Facebook ad agency. It's a multi-million-dollar agency and in the e-commerce space. And because I run ads for e-commerce and for online businesses, I pay attention to that stuff. And he's always up to date. So yeah, I'll read his long emails and I look for them actually. And so I think like the problem is people just spam everyone and they're not really the right people. You have the wrong people on your list. And so that's why it feels like they're not working, So I feel like if your content is really good, people will read it. But again, it kind of ties back into the chatbot thing. We don't use the chatbot as a replacement for email marketing. It's a way to start a conversation, to have that intimacy. Mm-hmm. I like to talk to my clients about the difference between intimacy and relevancy. It's really, you have to have both of those things to make a sale, because relevancy is simply this person has a problem. I have a solution. My solution will solve your problem. A lot of marketers get that right. They know how to like spell out the pain points and say, well, here's the benefit of my product. It's going to solve your pain point, right? Mm-hmm. But what they're missing a lot of times is that intimacy. And intimacy is what makes me trust you, knowing that your solution is going to work. And so one of the ways that like my team, we create intimacy for our clients with their prospects is through chat marketing. So whether it's on Instagram or Facebook Messenger, either way, it's having a one-on-one conversation. So it's not like, here's a giant long story paragraph that I want you to read. And I wrote it to 200,000 people on my list. It's, hey, Juliet, did you have a question about so-and-so? And then there's 2 or 3 buttons and you get to pick a button and then that will lead you down a path.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, you were looking for, like I have one client who teaches people how to have more confidence in sales. And so it's like, oh, you're interested in more sales. Are you a seasoned salesperson? Or are you brand new? Because that's a really good qualifying question. Mm-hmm. So then find out where they are. Then it's like, oh, you're totally new. Well, for new people, here's what I recommend. And did you have any questions? So we kind of lead them down a path where it makes more sense. So then they're like, wow, this person really hears me. They understand me. They get me. And it's like immediate, like dopamine hits, it's like, hey, I hear you. I see you. I validate who you are. And by the way, here's something that I can do to help you in your journey. And so, that's why I call it conversational advertising, because it's not just like blasting a message like a TV commercial. It's like inviting them into a conversation and it's automated. So then all those busy CEOs don't have to sit there and go through every DM, and not that they shouldn't at all. If they have the time or they have someone on their team who can have those one personal human conversations, by all means do that. But what I found is that they say they want to have this human connection, but then they just don't do it. And then DMs sit in their inbox for a few days and then that person's moved on.
Right. And that is so what you're saying about that relationship building, it has to be there. So many people who are failing in the digital space, it's because they've been led to believe that, oh, all you have to do is this and people will click and buy. And if you've got a high ticket item, that's not happening. Most people hire you not just because you do a particular thing, but because they resonate with you. They like you. They
Mm-hmm.
trust what you're saying. And most of the time that cannot happen without a conversation. And
Right.
that's where I think so many people have really missed the boat here is they don't understand. They're relying on clicks instead of relationships.
Absolutely. I mean, and clicks are important. You have to have clicks, but then what's next after that? And so I think the days of like the 90-minute webinar that goes into like, a 10-day email sequence that's supposed to sell you the high ticket thing. I
Mhm.
just, I don't see that working for my clients anymore. And clients who have done really, really well, like ended up in the 2 Comma Club. And it's just like the webinar model, it's not totally broken. I mean, it does work for some, but there's like so many more things you have to do now to get people to even come. Like if we run ads to a webinar, they opt into that. What do we do now? It's like, okay, here's a webinar, watch that, and then I'm going to send you the emails. How do we get people to actually engage? So
Right.
we use a chatbot for that. So instead of them just going straight into the webinar, we give them a chatbot and say, hey, did you want to get the workbook for this training so you can have some action taking tips? So then they click a button on the like sales page, not the sales page, the replay page for the webinar to get the workbook, and then they
Mhm.
get it from the chatbot. So the chatbot is like, hey, did you want to get the workbook? Cool, click this button. They get the workbook, and then it's like, hey, real quick, go run and check your email. It should be there in your email. So then we're getting them to open and click on the emails, which tells the Gmail or whoever the server is that this person that I actually want to get emails from. So then the emails are ending up more in the inbox and not just in spam. And then it says, hey, go back and watch the webinar and let me know if you have any questions. Then there's a delay, so like 90-minute delay.
Mhm.
And then the chat bot pops up and says, hey, what'd you think? Did you have any questions about the webinar? Or did you get to chance? Actually, we like to ask, did you get a chance to watch all of it, some of it, or none of it? So then we can say, oh, they watched none of it. It's like, oh, what happened? Like, were you just not interested? That's fine. Unsubscribe. Or did you just, kid jumped in your lap, you spilled your coffee, whatever. We like make a joke, and then we can kind of find out, because if they watched all of it and then they still aren't buying, then what's the reason for that? It's
Mhm.
it's a way to kind of like build that like a conversational relationship with them. So then that 24-hour window is open for us to follow up. So if someone says they watched all of it, we say, what was your biggest takeaway? And a lot of times they'll write like a paragraph answer.
Right. Yeah.
you know like if someone's just gonna like click a button, that's one thing. But if you give them an open-ended question after you've already had a thing, they'll write like a long answer, which is really insightful for marketing. Because then you can say, well, this is what I'm hearing from my prospects. I hear that you're struggling because you don't know if you have enough money to make this work, or whatever the objection is. So then you can kind of cover that in your marketing. So we like to take those answers and kind of compile them and go, okay, what are we hearing that's really common? Like money is a big one. People are like, oh, well, I saw it and I like your program, but I just don't have the money to buy it. So then we point them to some free offers and things like that to continue that relationship building until they're ready to buy.
That's great. For you authors listening, she said something so important there about the unsubscribe. To get to a really big bestseller list, you need a clean list so that when you send out those bestseller blasts, you know how many people on that list are going to buy. So I actually have a really good friend who's now a New York Times bestseller that she has a list of 20,000 people. And if you don't respond to something in 30 days, you're off the list. So she
Yeah.
always has a clean list and knows where those people are buying. So this would be something where you could use that and get a really big, clean list and make a USA Today or,
Yeah.
one of those smaller, big bestseller lists.
That's really smart. And I don't know a lot about like the book publishing industry, but definitely like you don't want to have people on your list that are like dead weight.
Right.
Like if they're not interested, then like bye. Like it's okay. And people a lot of times they get their feelings hurt because they're like, oh, someone unsubscribed, or I'm getting like 5% of people are unsubscribing. And that's a pretty high unsubscribe rate. So like, why? Why are people unsubscribing? So either you're being too pushy up early on, like you're too salesy or feels spammy or whatever, or maybe like the relevancy isn't there. You're not quite, your solution isn't solving what their real problem is,
Mhm.
or their perceived problem, because maybe you're solving what their actual underlying problem is, but you don't necessarily, you're not, they don't know that yet. They're not totally like aware of their real problem. They just think, like, let's take an example of somebody who wants to get more clients. They're like, well, I just need more clients. That's what they perceive as their problem. But really their problem is probably they have money mindset issues, or they're not charging enough, or they don't have enough confidence. Like there's other underlying issues. But if you're like selling them on, hey, you need more, you need to do all these things, and they're like, well, no, I don't, like, I just need more clients, then they're going to be like, no, this person doesn't get me. They're going to unsubscribe. So I always try to just make sure that our messages are relevant to where they are in the journey.
Right. And this is such a good point, because we encounter this a lot when we use our quiz platform. Is okay, so you got people to those conversations. And have you ever thought about, why is your closing rate low? So it's like taking whatever you're doing, and the bots are right in this too, and evaluating each level of it, because maybe you're getting those conversations, but now you find out you're not a great closer.
Yeah.
And that actually happened to me early on. I got a lot of conversations I wasn't closing, and we had to revamp product, revamp confidence in my closing, because if I don't sound confident, you're not going to have confidence in me. You can feel that.
Yeah,
So I think that this is also a really good way to like evaluate those steps along the way. Are you getting the leads? Are the leads, now if they're not booking appointments, what's the problem there? Now they book appointments, what's the conversation ending up as? So, this is a good stepping stone for that as well.
for sure. Yeah. And just to kind of bring it back to your original question about Instagram, you can do all of this that we're talking about either in Messenger or in Instagram. So depending on where your followers are, that's really where you should spend more of your time, kind of looking at your industry. I mean, if you're in like the coaching space, if you're in the, if you're targeting women over 40, like they're not on Instagram nearly as much as they are on Facebook. So just thinking about like, where are they located? If you're selling to teenagers, they're definitely not on Facebook, they're on Instagram, so just kind of thinking about your audience and where they are. And obviously, like if you get to the point where you can build your bots on both places, having this like conversation in both, that's awesome. But I just think, don't overwhelm yourself by that. Just like choose one and just build it in that one place.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where can we find more of you? You have a free gift for us today, don't you?
I do, yeah. So why don't you follow me on Instagram? That's probably the best place you could find me. My handle is Tracey Matney VPS. So I'm sure you'll put it here in the show notes. You can spell it right. Tracey with an EY, Matney with an EY, and then VPS. And so if you go there, I actually share tips all the time about chatbots and about marketing. And so I'd love for you to follow me over there. Very, very soon, I'm really, really close to hitting that 1,000 followers mark. So
Yay.
I will be able to have my own Instagram automation. So I've been building everything out for our clients, and I've got a test account. And so pretty soon you'll be able to like DM me, and I'll have like an automated response. My chatbot on Messenger, her name is Victory. So you can go talk to Victory and she will give you information. But I would like to give you guys a free template for building out your first Messenger bot. So specifically for Messenger. And you go to go.victorypoints.net/free chatbot. And so I can give you guys that. There's actually free training with it. And that way it kind of walks you through step by step exactly what to click on when you're setting up your first basic chatbot.
That is so important too. I remember when we set our first one up, I really messed it up. I tried to do it myself and I ended up hiring someone because so really important to watch the training with that, you guys.
Yeah. And it's only 20 minutes. So it's not like one of those big long things you're gonna have to stare at your screen. And I mean, I'm sure we're all tired of being like on Zoom forever. So it's only 20 minutes and you can pause it and go do and come back and finish, and just customize it. All you have to do is customize it basically for your brand. You just add in your images and your words and your links.
Great. Fantastic. Tracey, thank you so much for sharing this today. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know this exists yet.
For sure. They probably don't. If I want to leave you with one stat, there's 400 million messages sent every single day between consumers and businesses on Instagram. Every day, 400 million messages. So people are DMing businesses, and you might have a bunch of messages in your request folder. Probably some of those are spam, but some of them might be your customers. So just make sure that you're responding to them and you're having these one-on-one conversations.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.